What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my analysis of the Rearmed Grima and Ascended Eir banners. So I'll be giving my first impression and gonna be going over their weapons, explaining them and if you should be pulling for these units or not. So definitely was not expecting a Rearmed hero this soon after we got Rearmed Lift last month, and it's Grima, or Robin I guess, and she is a colorless armor dragon, and this is extremely good because if you know how Rearmed heroes can function with their skill duplication, you can essentially merge up your Rearmed Grima, and if you've given her far save, you can just again have access to far save and inherit that with some other skill. So that can definitely work, and I think she's definitely going to be a pretty high value unit because armor units are meta because of the save skills that they have and hardy fighter. Not to mention the dragons also have access to distant counter dragon sacred seal. So Grima is pretty amazing unit for both dragons and armor units together, and especially dragon armors. She's got Arcane Grima as her preferred weapon, which you can inherit to other units and other dragons, because dragon breaths are not color locked, so you can even give this to red dragons and blue dragons, and I guess they are going to be manifested by Grima in some form by giving this breath. So she does get minus on special cooldown out of this weapon, and if you've got 25% or more HP, then you can get +5 to all of your stats and also a guaranteed follow-up attack. And you can also deal true damage based on 15% of your speed, and then finally after the combat you can get 7 HP healing. So this weapon is really good for a lot of dragons. The guaranteed follow-up attack can act as a pseudo half null follow-up for bypassing the follow-up negation skills of many of these slower units, and I think that Grima herself is going to be pretty fast, so she's going to be able to make use of this. And this weapon is going to be a pretty good weapon for a lot of dragons. Doesn't matter if they're fast or slow, because you do get the extra speed out of this weapon, so even faster dragons can get something out of it. And the healing is definitely pretty nice along with the true damage, so you can definitely try and one-shot things by running distant counter sacred seal on a high attack dragon. So overall, this breath is really good for a lot of dragons that didn't get a weapon refine or just got an old refine, and I'll be making a full arcane tier list video for this breath as well. So look forward to that. It's going to be going up in like a couple of hours, and she's got Pegasus, which does become a 2 cooldown special. So it is pretty amazing with hardy fighter, and you can also use Aegis and hardy fighter with this breath, so it just enables the usage of hardy fighter really easily without really missing out on the guaranteed follow-up attack. So that's also worth noting that it does have pretty good synergy with this really meta skill in hardy fighter. She's got Dragon Hide as her exclusive skill, and this is not going to be inheritable, so it does have Sylvalan Shield built into it, which means that she's not weak to armor effective damage. You still have to watch out for the dragon effective damage though, but in my opinion, having this kind of Sylvalan Shield built into a preferred skill easily makes her a top tier armor unit like Ascended Eir and Brave Hector, because you're gonna be nullifying one of your weaknesses, and dragon weakness is still gonna be there, so you have to manage that, but getting rid of the armor weakness means that you have a much better matchup against someone like Duocrom, who's extremely common compared to any other dragon effective unit really. I mean, Legendary Daedra is really powerful as well, so again you have to watch out for her, but it's not just Sylvalan Shield. She can also get -8 debuff to all stats of the opponent in the combat, and then she can get special cooldown charge +1 on both her hits and the opponent's hits. So this is really good because she's getting -8 debuffs. That's quite a lot, while also having access to hardy fighter and a defensive special like Aegis. And because of the special cooldown charge that she can get, and getting the special charges is really good because she can run Aegis with hardy fighter, and even if the foe doubles her, she can again charge her Aegis for their double attack and get that damage reduction. And of course, the damage reduction from these specials are not really pierceable by Deadeye or Lethality, so this is a very good exclusive skill and definitely sets her apart compared to Deadly Balance, which didn't really do too much for Rearmed Lift honestly, but she herself is going to be a really good unit because of this exclusive skill and this weapon. And she's also going to be pretty fast, which is not really all that common for a armor unit, especially for a colorless dragon. She's got hardy fighter, which is amazing for fodder, and then attack speed near save. So attack speed near save is good on savvy fighter melee armor units who want a near save, but she does have the other skills which you might fodder off before, like hardy fighter and the arcane breath. So those are definitely a lot more valuable. And I think she's definitely going to be pretty fast. So here, she's got really amazing animation actually. So I do think that she's going to be pretty fast at base 41 speed. And I think that she's not going to be having that high of a raw bulk, as we can see with her HP. And the fact that her weapon and exclusive skill gives her so much speed, I think it's fair to assume that she's going to be fast. And she also hits pretty hard. So base 40 plus attack and base 40 plus speed is what I'm expecting out of her. I don't think she's going to be having that high of defense or resistance, which of course makes her weak to a lot of AoE specials like Thor and Spring Sonia, because they do target your visible resistance. So having low visible resistance is going to be making her susceptible to those units. So you still have to watch out for them despite running Hardy Fighter and a defensive special. But yeah, overall I'm really excited for her because this is a very unique armor unit with her exclusive skill, and the fact that she's fast means that she's going to be having much better survivability against so many of the other slow units. And she essentially gets like a bootleg null follow-up with Hardy Fighter and her Arcane Grima, because this has got the guaranteed follow-up attack, which is kind of like the offensive version of null follow-up, and then Hardy Fighter itself does have a partial null follow-up as it is. So she's able to definitely make use of that high speed really well. She does come with near save, but you can also use her as a really good far save tank with far save and distant counter Dragon Sacred Seal, and she already has a pretty good exclusive skill to go with it. So if you're a big dragon enthusiast, or if you have one of the dragons which has older weapon refine or hasn't got a refine at +10, then this kind of breath is going to be really helpful to you. And the fact that she's going to be a rearmed hero whose armor means that you can definitely multiply many of the rare skills like far save, and if you give her distant defense 4, the mirror stance 3, so you can always, whenever you get a merge on her, you're able to pretty much fodder her for those skills. If you haven't watched my arcane weapon video, you should definitely do that, and you'll definitely understand how you can use the skill duplication. And now let's go over Ascended Eir, because she's also a pretty top priority unit out of this banner, being the Ascended unit. So we did see her in the Tempest Trial, and she is a green dagger cavalier, and her weapon hasn't really changed much from the Tempest Trial, and I assume her stats haven't either, but we'll probably have to see about that. So she's got Ymir Ever Living as her preferred weapon, which gives her -1 special cooldown, and she can get +5 to all of her stats in the player phase, or if the foe has got 2 range in the enemy phase. And she can get extra attack in the combat depending on 40% of the current HP of the second lowest HP ally on your team. So that is mouthful, but generally it means that the second lowest HP unit is going to be determining the attack buff you get in the combat with Eir. And she can heal up that HP with Sparkling Boost and such. So let's take example of a 42 HP unit. That is a pretty common HP point. So let's say that the 42 HP unit is the second lowest HP unit on your entire team. So at full HP, they're going to be providing +17 attack to Eir just by having that full HP on the map. And if you have an ally with 50 HP as the second lowest HP unit on your team, then she can get that max +20 attack in the combat. And this is really good because it makes her viability with Heavy Blade much better, which means that she can run Lethality and then trigger that in a single round of combat if the opponent counterattacks. So I hope that it makes more sense now, and this weapon also provides her with partial null follow-up, which allows her to bypass the follow-up negation effects of Brave Hector, Ascended Eir, and things like that. And finally she has got Miracle, so yep, we got a pretty nice unit to go along with Brave Seliph. Now she's not going to be as insane as Brave Seliph because she doesn't get the full null follow-up, it's only the half null follow-up, which means that the units who can auto double against her are going to be able to still kill her. But I guess the good thing is that her partial null follow-up is at least built into her weapon instead of being a status like Brave Seliph, because it cannot be erased by Duo Thor or something like that. The fact that she's got Miracle means that she's going to be able to survive a lot of far save tanks that hit very hard. But keep in mind that if Eir is not able to kill them in 2 hits, then they probably have some kind of auto follow-up that is just going to kill her anyways. So that is something you have to keep in mind, but overall she's going to be a very solid unit. And she also has attack speed catch 4 and has got the second non-dragon 300 SP slot-based skill in Mystic Boost 4. So this is definitely an upgrade because it does provide you with -5 attack debuff on the foe during the combat, and it also disables the Wrathful Staff, and Dazzling Staff. So Mystic Boost 3 only disabled Wrathful Staff. The healers can get counter-attacked, which means that they're probably going to be dying because they're not going to be very tanky most of the time. And then after the combat, it does restore 10 HP to the unit. So the healing has gone up, which means that it is going to be a pretty fantastic skill to be run on a unit like Brave Seliph. And he can get extra attack debuff on the opponent and not be susceptible to Dazzling Staff healers. Ascended Celica is also another good user of this. I'll definitely be going over this in my banner review, but yeah, this is going to be a pretty nice slot B skill for some of the units, but for majority of the units, it is going to be competing with a lot of really stacked slot B skill, so you're not going to be seeing this too much except for on like select few units, and by select few I mean literally Brave Seliph. So watch out for him, he's coming for you. And you can also use this in Arena for getting that high scoring, but I think that waiting for better slot B skills that can go well in Arena is probably the better move unless you're a whale and you can pull her up. So yeah, that's Mystic Boost 4, and she also has Sparkling Boost, the one that Eir had pre-remix, which is still a pretty good skill, all things considered, just healing up the HP of the ally who suffered the most damage at the start of the turn. She does have Draconic Aura here, and we do see her trigger that, so I think that she's probably going to be having the same stats as Tempest Trial. Rearmed Lift had different stats, but I don't think that's the case with Eir, but we'll just have to see. And then we have got Gregor as our other unit, who's the 5-star premium unit, and he does come with a preferred weapon, so I'm really happy, definitely wanted him in the game. So he's a Sword Infantry unit, which is a pretty stacked class, and he has got Blade of Favors as his preferred weapon, because Gregor doesn't really keep any favors, he always pays them back. He's able to get -1 special cooldown out of this weapon, which means that good user of Vital Astra. And at start of player phase or enemy phase, if any of the foes are in the 3-row and 3-column range, then he's able to debuff them for -6 attack speed and defense debuffs. And he also buffs himself up for +6 attack speed and defense. So this is a pretty good long range support that we have got on him, and it definitely synergizes well with the second effect of his weapon. So Gregor basically has the Plegian or the Vulture effect to attack speed and defense debuffs on the opponent, which means that he's going to be able to get even more debuffs on them and has good synergy with the visible debuffs that he can cause. In the trailer itself, we see him like inflicting -11 debuffs on the enemy dragon, so he's definitely going to be able to get crazy amounts of debuffs on these 3 stats, which matter a lot to him. And finally, he can also get damage reduction on foes' first attack by 40%. And Gregor is going to be pretty fast, so he can definitely run Null Follow-Up, Sacred Seal on him, or even Slot B skill, and he can run something else in his Slot B like Velocity, for example. And I think running him with Time Pulse and Vital Astra is going to be a lot more optimal, because he doesn't really want the Oath 4 skill because he already gets the visible buffs, and he can also like use him with Bonus Doubler. That's also an option because of the self buffs that he gets. So Gregor definitely has a couple of options, and definitely is not that bad of a unit. Despite being a 5-star locked Sword Infantry unit. A lot of times they end up being someone like Galzus with no preferred, but at least he has a preferred weapon, so he can function with that. And I think that he's basically going to be like a premium Flame Tribe Rinka, because he's going to be having high defense, high speed, and not the highest attack by the modern standards, but also workable. And his resistance does get reduced by Solid Ground, which is definitely a new skill that we have got. So it's not really going to be as potent or as useful as Still Water, because Still Water is mainly going to be helpful for meeting the resistance checks of Temari, Sabotage skills, all of that. But I think that Solid Ground is mainly going to be useful for Dancers in the Dark Season so that they can avoid getting isolated by Mila. So Dancer Eldigan can boost up his defense even further at the cost of the resistance, and he can even do this with some other dancers, but I don't think Mila herself wants the skill because it does reduce her resistance. So if you're running a Sabotage skill on her, then that's not the best thing. And this can also be run on units who want to run Wyvern Flight, and they're mostly going to be taking on the melee units. So Solid Ground could be an option that you could run on them, but then again, Wyvern Flight itself is not the best skill to be used on a lot of flyers. So yeah, Solid Ground is definitely a rather niche skill, but it's good to have, I guess. And then he has got Infantry Null Follow-Up, which is amazing fodder skill, which you could give to any kind of support unit or any kind of dancer, and they're going to be doing a pretty fantastic job, just freeing up your Slot B and Sacred Seal of your infantry units from running this skill. The demote unit of this banner is going to be Phila, so a lot of you might remember her if you have played Awakening, but if you didn't play Awakening then you probably don't even know her. So she's not a playable character in Awakening, and definitely surprises me that she got in before like Kellum or Wake. But yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything with the plot, and yeah, yet another Lance Flyer in the demote pool. She's got Rain Lance Plus as the inedible weapon, which does have the speed, defense, Rain 3.5 built into it. And I guess she's going to be waiting for like a good arcane weapon to really go off, because she is going to be a Gen 7 Lance Flyer. So she's going to be having higher BST than a lot of them. And she does come with Pegasus Flight, which is actually a pretty nice skill to be given to Sita or like Claire. So Pegasus Flight and Wyvern Flight always felt like they were not exactly worthy of being locked to 5-star. And I'm really glad that they are giving this on a demote. So yeah, unfortunately Fiora does not have too much value now as a 5-star unit, and Phila can just give you this as a budget option for some of her flyers. Definitely can use this on Sita, her arena season is coming up, and she also has brazen attack resistance, which is not the greatest skill for the Slotty, and she's mainly going to be foddered off for her Pegasus Flight. And we can speculate her stats. I think that she's going to be having really high resistance at like base 39 to make good use out of the Pegasus Flight. And she's going to be able to reach 185 BST for arena scoring, which is pretty good for a flyer, I suppose. Flyers do have good mobility, and arena maps are pretty flyer dominated. So if you do want to plus and merge her, then I guess she could be a decent unit there, especially if we get a good arcane lance. And she's also going to be fast at like base 43, I think. And also is going to be having decent attack stat. So Phila is just a Gen 7 Lance Flyer with that updated BST. And she just killed this dragon with the iceberg. We also have an instant demote unit on this banner as Ricken, so I don't think he's going to be given out as a quest unit. They haven't really said that. So he's going to be a case like Atlas. So he's going to be available in the 3-star, 4-star pool. And he's a green infantry mage. We do see that he's got the rabbit tome as his weapon and Luna as a special. I think that he probably has attack speed bond 3 as a slotty skill and attack speed O3 as the slotsy skill. I'm just guessing because while speculating his stats, I felt like he has some kind of visible buff, and we do see him with plus 10 attack here. So I think he could come with those skills. Now keep in mind that he's shown here in the combat as a 4-star unit, and I'm speculating his stats as a 5-star. So my speculation might be off than usual because of the disparity there. But still, I think that he's basically going to be like a green Urk because he doesn't have a preferred weapon, but he's not the worst unit to build up based on his base stats. And of course, with the arcane weapons being a thing, he could definitely function well whenever he gets that, because he is going to be having high attack and speed, I think, and also high resistance. And he's mainly going to be dumping his defense, I think. So that's my speculation for Ricken. We don't really get too many green infantry mages, so it's not really as crowded as red mages, I would say. And the Grand Hero battle unit of this batch is going to be Cervantes. So he could be an axe armor or lance armor. He does have tomahawk, I believe, in Awakening, and he is a general, so he could be a armor unit. And he also has armor in his portrait, so he's probably going to be a free-to-play armor, I guess, who is going to be having 195 BST, so he's going to be the highest scoring free-to-play unit, and he's probably not going to be given any kind of preferred weapon except for his mustache, because of course, why would they? It's a free-to-play armor unit, so I definitely do not expect a preferred weapon whatsoever. So I'm definitely looking forward to what they do with him. I hope that they do not make him an infantry unit or something like that and actually make him an armor unit. I know there are a lot of armor units in the game and a lot of meta ones, but we haven't really got too many like free-to-play armors as of late. So being this kind of 195 BST armor would be nice for arena scoring, but he's still going to be quite a suffering unit to be used in arena because of that one movement, and because of likely being green, who's going to get absolutely shredded by duochrome. This banner also only has 1 spark. I thought they would just put 2 sparks like the last Rearmed Hero banner, which also had Ascended Hilda, but I guess if you didn't really get Eir or Robin, then you have to choose either one of these high value units. And I think that these units mainly carry the banner. I don't think Gregor is really unique enough to stand out, but at least, he has a preferred weapon. So Eir is going to be a good Dagger Cavalier with that miracle, but I think that Grima is easily the best spark unit because she's a rearmed hero, and that means that you can basically fodder her for free once and not really kill her. And you can also use her for the skill duplication. So she just does too many applications as a, armor dragon, rearmed hero. And she's also going to be a good unit for a lot of units as well if they want to use her breath. So if you care about dragons or Grima, then you could summon on this banner and get her with the spark. And let me know in the comments what you think about this banner. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as armor weakness of Grima. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.